Hello, welcome to IT Expert YouTube video series. Today we are going to talk about cloud service provider comparison. AWS versus Azure versus Google Cloud 2022 Cloud Platform Comparison. Competition for leadership in public cloud computing is a fierce three-way race. Amazon Web Services AWS versus Microsoft Azure versus Google Cloud Platform GCP. Clearly, these three top cloud companies hold a commanding lead in the infrastructure as a service and platform as a service markets. AWS is particularly dominant. According to a 2020 report from Synergy Research Group, Amazon growth continued to closely mirror overall market growth, so it maintained its 33% share of the worldwide cloud market. Second-ranked Microsoft again grew faster than the market, and its market share has increased by almost 3 percentage points in the last 4 quarters, reaching 18%. Meanwhile, Microsoft is particularly strong in SaaS, while Google Cloud, with its strength in artificial intelligence, is positioned for aggressive growth as the AI market grows and is known for offering discounts. Here's the summary cloud comparison between AWS versus Azure versus Google. Amazon Web Services. With a vast toolset that continues to grow exponentially, Amazon's capabilities are unmatched. Yet its cost structure can be confusing, and its focus on public cloud rather than hybrid cloud or private cloud means that interoperating with your data center is not AWS's top priority. Microsoft Azure. A close competitor to AWS with an exceptionally capable cloud infrastructure. If you are an enterprise customer, Azure speaks your language. Few companies have the enterprise background and Windows support as Microsoft. Azure knows you still run a data center, and the Azure platform works hard to interoperate with data centers. Hybrid cloud is a true strength. Google Cloud. A well-funded underdog in the competition, Google entered the cloud market later and does not have as much of the enterprise focus that helps draw corporate customers. But its technical expertise is profound, and its industry-leading tools in deep learning and artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics are significant advantages. AWS versus Azure versus Google Storage. AWS Storage. SSS to EFS. AWS storage services include its simple storage service for object storage, elastic block storage for persistent block storage, and elastic file system for file storage. Some of its more innovative storage products include the Storage Gateway, which enables a hybrid storage environment, and Snowball, which is a physical hardware device that organizations can use to transfer petabytes of data in situations where internet transfer is not practical. Database and archiving. Amazon has a SQL-compatible database called Aurora, Relational Database Service, DynamoDB NoSQL Database, ElastiCache in-memory data store, Redshift Data Warehouse, Neptune Graph Database, and a database migration service. Amazon offers Glacier, which is designed for long-term archival storage at very low rates. In addition, its storage gateway can be used to easily set up backup and archive processes. Azure Storage. Storage services. Microsoft Azure's basic storage services include blob storage for REST-based object storage of unstructured data, queue storage for large volume workloads, file storage, and disk storage. It also has a data lake store, which is useful for big data applications. Extensive database. Azure's database options are particularly extensive. It has 3 SQL-based options: SQL Database, Database for MySQL, and Database for PostgreSQL. It also has a data warehouse service, as well as Cosmos DB and table storage for NoSQL. Redis Cache is its in-memory service, and the Server Stretch Database is its hybrid storage service, designed specifically for organizations that use Microsoft SQL Server in their own data centers. Unlike AWS, Microsoft does offer an actual backup service, as well as site recovery service and archive storage. Google Storage. Unified storage and more. GCP has a growing menu of storage services available. Cloud Storage is its unified object storage service, and it also has a persistent disk option. It offers a transfer appliance similar to AWS Snowball, as well as online transfer services. SQL and NoSQL. When it comes to databases, GCP has the SQL-based Cloud SQL and a relational database called Cloud Spanner that is designed for mission-critical workloads. It also has 2 NoSQL options: Cloud Bigtable and Cloud Data Store. It does not have backup and archive services. AWS versus Azure versus Google Key Cloud Tools. Looking ahead, Experts say that emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, the Internet of Things, and serverless computing will become key points of differentiation for cloud vendors. All three leading vendors have begun experimenting with offerings in these areas and are likely to expand their services in the coming year. AWS Key Tools. SageMaker to serverless. As in other areas, AWS has the longest list of services in each of these areas. Highlights include its SageMaker service for training and deploying machine learning models, the Lex conversational interface that also powers its Alexa services, its Greengrass IoT messaging service, and the Lambda serverless computing service. AI and ML. Among its many AI-oriented services, AWS offers Deep Lens, an AI-powered camera for developing and deploying machine learning algorithms to use with things like optical character recognition and image and object recognition. AWS has announced Gluon, an open-source deep learning library designed to make it easy for developers and non-developers alike to build and quickly train neural networks, without having to know AI programming. Azure Key Tools. Cognitive services. Having invested heavily in artificial intelligence, Microsoft offers a machine learning service and a bot service on Azure. It also has cognitive services that include a Bing Web Search API, Text Analytics API, Face API, Computer Vision API, and Custom Vision Service. For IoT, it has several management and analytics services, and its serverless computing service is known as Functions. Supporting MSFT software. Not surprisingly, some of Azure's top tools are geared towards supporting on-premises Microsoft software. Azure Backup is a service that links Windows Server Backup in Windows Server 2012 R2 and Windows Server 2016. Visual Studio Team Services hosts Visual Studio projects on Azure. Google Key Tools. Big on AI. For Google Cloud Platform, AI and machine learning are big areas of focus. Google is a leader in AI development, thanks to TensorFlow, an open-source software library for building machine learning applications. The TensorFlow library is popular and well-regarded. A testament to its popularity is that AWS recently added support for TensorFlow. IoT to serverless. Google Cloud has strong offerings in APIs for natural language, speech, translation, and more. Additionally, it offers IoT and serverless services, but both are still in beta previews. AWS versus Azure versus Google pricing. Also see an in-depth look at AWS versus Azure versus Google pricing for cloud services. Understanding pricing among these three cloud leaders is challenging, and pricing changes. It can also change based on the specific arrangement that a customer wrangles from their service rep. Look below for typical pricing engagements with each provider. AWS pricing. Amazon's pricing is particularly inscrutable. While it does offer a cost calculator, the many variables involved make it difficult to get accurate estimates. Gartner advised, granular pricing structure is complex. Use of third-party cost management tools is highly recommended. Azure pricing. Microsoft Azure doesn't make things any simpler. Because of Microsoft's complicated software licensing options and use of situation-based discounts, its pricing structure can be difficult to understand without outside help and/or considerable experience. Google pricing. By contrast, Google uses its pricing as a point of differentiation. It aims to offer customer-friendly prices that beat the list prices of the other providers. Gartner noted, Google uses deep discounts and exceptionally flexible contracts to try to win projects from customers that are currently spending significant sums of money with cloud competitors. Key tip: organizations that are basing their cloud vendor decisions primarily on price will need to analyze each project on a case-by-case basis to get the best deal. And because the vendors drop their prices regularly, they may need to revisit those calculations frequently. AWS versus Azure v. Google high-profile customers. AWS and Azure have boasted the lion's share of high-profile enterprise customers for many years, but Google is quickly picking up more renowned enterprises and federal government branches. AWS customers. Netflix, Capital One, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Stanford University, Volkswagen, General Electric, Petco, Philips, LG. Azure customers. National Basketball Association, Snowflake, Atant, AccuWeather, A. Papa John's, FedEx, GNC, Nationwide. Google customers: Twitter, Deutsche Bank, PayPal, P&G, Home Depot, UPS, Etsy, Equifax, Target, 20th Century Fox. AWS versus Azure versus Google Compute. AWS Compute. Elastic Compute Cloud. Amazon's flagship compute service is Elastic Compute Cloud, or EC2. Amazon describes EC2 as a web service that provides secure, resizable compute capacity in the cloud. EC2 offers a wide variety of options, including a huge assortment of instances, support for both Windows and Linux, bare metal instances, GPU instances, high-performance computing, auto-scaling, and more. AWS also offers a free tier for EC2 that includes 750 hours per month for up to 12 months. Container services. Within the compute category, Amazon's various container services are increasing in popularity, and it has options that support Docker, Kubernetes, and its own Fargate service that automates server and cluster management when using containers. It also offers a virtual private cloud option known as Lightsail, batch for batch computing jobs, Elastic Beanstalk for running and scaling web applications, as well as a few other services. Microsoft Compute. Virtual machines. Microsoft Azure's primary cloud-based compute service is known as virtual machines. It boasts support for Linux, Windows Server, SQL Server, Oracle, IBM, and SAP, as well as enhanced security, hybrid cloud capabilities, and integrated support for Microsoft software. Like AWS, it has an extremely large catalog of available instances, including GPU and high-performance computing options, as well as instances optimized for artificial intelligence and machine learning. It also has a free tier with 750 hours per month of Windows or Linux B1S virtual machines for a year. Additional services. Azure's version of auto-scaling is known as Virtual Machine Scale Sets. Azure has two container services. Azure Container Services based on Kubernetes, and Container Services uses Docker Hub and Azure Container Registry for management. It has a batch service, and cloud services for scalable web applications is similar to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. It also has a unique offering called Service Fabric that is specifically designed for applications with microservices architecture. Google Compute. Compute Engine. By comparison, Google's catalog of compute services is somewhat smaller than its competitors. Its primary service is called Compute Engine, which boasts both custom and predefined machine types, per-second billing, Linux and Windows support, automatic discounts, and carbon-neutral infrastructure that uses half the energy of typical data centers. It offers a free tier that includes one F1 micro instance per month for up to 12 months. Focus on Kubernetes. Like all of the leading cloud vendors, it's well set up to offer containers and microservices. Google offers the Kubernetes engine for organizations interested in deploying containers. And it is worth noting that Google has been heavily involved in the Kubernetes project, giving it deep expertise in this area. AWS versus Azure versus Google. Overall pros and cons. Each of the leading vendors has particular strengths and weaknesses that make them a good choice for certain projects. There is no one-size-fits-all cloud solution. AWS pros and cons. Amazon's biggest strength is its dominance of the public cloud market. In its Magic Quadrant for Cloud Infrastructure as a Service, worldwide, Gartner noted, AWS has been the market share leader in cloud IaaS for over 10 years. Part of the reason for its popularity is undoubtedly the massive scope of its operations. AWS has a huge and growing array of available services, as well as the most comprehensive network of worldwide data centers. The Gartner report summed it up, saying, AWS is the most mature, enterprise-ready provider, with the deepest capabilities for governing a large number of users and resources. Amazon's big weaknesses relate to cost. While AWS regularly lowers its prices, many enterprises find it difficult to understand the company's cost structure and to manage those costs effectively when running a high volume of workloads on the service. In general, however, these cons are more than outweighed by Amazon's strengths, and organizations of all sizes continue to use AWS for a wide variety of workloads. Microsoft Azure pros and cons. Microsoft came later to the cloud market, but gave itself a jump start by essentially taking its on-premises software Windows Server, Office, SQL Server, SharePoint, Dynamics Active Directory, Net, and others, and repurposing it for the cloud. A big reason for Azure's success: so many enterprises deploy Windows and other Microsoft software. Because Azure is tightly integrated with these other applications, enterprises that use a lot of Microsoft software often find that it makes sense for them to use Azure. This builds loyalty for existing Microsoft customers. Also, if you are already an existing Microsoft Enterprise customer, expect significant discounts on service contracts. On the con side, Gartner finds fault with some of the platform's imperfections. While Microsoft Azure is an enterprise-ready platform, Gartner clients report that the service experience feels less enterprise-ready than they expected, given Microsoft's long history as an enterprise vendor, it said. Customers cite issues with technical support, documentation, training, and breadth of the ISV partner ecosystem. Google Cloud Platform pros and cons. Google has a strong offering in containers since Google developed the Kubernetes standard that AWS and Azure now offer. GCP specializes in high compute offerings like big data, analytics, and machine learning. It also offers considerable scale and load balancing. Google knows data centers and fast response time. On the downside, Google is a distant third in market share, perhaps because it does not have the traditional relationship with enterprise customers. However, it is quickly expanding both its offerings and its footprint of global data centers. Gartner said that its clients typically choose GCP as a secondary provider rather than a strategic provider, though GCP is increasingly chosen as a strategic alternative to AWS by customers whose businesses compete with Amazon, and that are more open source centric or DevOps centric, and thus are less well aligned to Microsoft Azure. Cloud Engineer Interview Questions. 1. What is a cloud? List some different versions of the cloud. A collaboration among networks, hardware, services, storage, and interfaces that are used in provident computing as a service is known as a cloud. It has three users: end users, cloud service providers, and business management users. The different versions of cloud are: public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. 2. What are the primary constituents of the cloud ecosystem? The primary constituents of the cloud ecosystem that let you know how you see cloud architecture are: cloud consumers, direct customers, cloud service providers. 3. What are the main benefits of cloud computing? Here are some main advantages of cloud computing: data backup and storage, robust server capabilities, improved productivity, cost-effective. 4. What is meant by function as a service? Function as a service offers users a platform where they can develop, manage, and run their applications without worrying about the infrastructure's maintenance. 5. Define the various cloud storage levels. The most common levels of data storage that cloud storage device mechanisms offer are: files, batches of data grouped into files located in folders. Blocks. The smallest unit of data that can be accessed individually is known as a block. The lowest level of storage and closest to the hardware. Datasets. These are datasets that have been divided and organized into a tabular, delimited, or record format. Objects refers to the data and the related metadata organized as web-based resources. 6. Explain security management in terms of cloud computing. Identity management. Access gives the required authorization of application services. Access control permission is provided to users to have complete controlling access to another user entering the cloud environment. Authentication and authorization permit access to the data and applications only to the users who are authorized and authenticated. 7. What are serverless components in cloud computing? The components that enable the development of applications to happen without the complications of managing the infrastructure are known as serverless components. This means that the user can write the code without accessing the server. Serverless machines are responsible for virtual machines and container management. These components also manage other aspects, such as multi-threading and hardware allocating. 8. How does resource replication happen in cloud computing? Resource replication is the process in which duplicates of the same resource are created. Replication is done when the requirement of a particular resource is constantly increasing. The resource is then virtualized to duplicate cloud-based resources. 9. Do cloud engineers write code? The simple answer is yes. But while cloud engineers do code, they write particular kinds of code. Even though you don't need to know coding to learn cloud, you can quickly master those skills as you learn them. 10. What are the interview questions for cloud architects? Some sample cloud architect interview questions are: define Amazon EC2. What are some of the security best practices for Amazon EC2? What is meant by identity and access management? Can you list some of its uses? Thank you for watching this video. We provide hands-on training with labs, homework, group projects. Prepare you for the certification. Provide real projects. Internship opportunities. Support you and resume LinkedIn. Staffing support. Provide tech references. In-person online class. Class retake options and more. Call us at 847-350-9034 for your free career consultation meeting. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for the latest videos.